let's
So
pivot to COVID because I feel like this is closely related. We're talking about you've been talking about it a lot lately, and there's a lot of government control that is taking place with the COVID
listen,
situation.
yeah, let's call it a situation rather than a pandemic because it is not under any stretch of the imagination a pandemic. Please God, do you realize what is it now? It's May almost.
Hmm.
May. Things been around for 5 months. In the world, the entire world, it's killed 228,000 people as of today. Horror. No, it's a nothing. There are 7.8 billion people in this world. What do you think the flu kills every goddamn year, every year?
I know.
650,000 people. 3 times what COVID has. Doctors are now saying it. It's less
Hmm.
deadly than the flu. Stanford did a study last week saying it's less deadly than the flu. Oxford University today released a study saying it's less deadly than the flu. Stop the lockdown nonsense. Japan never locked down. It is the most densely packed country in the world where they jam people on subways. You ever seen these videos of people in Japan where police, or not police,
Pushing them
but
in.
are pushing them in?
Yeah.
That's still happening. Japan never locked down. What's their death rate? The lowest of every country in the world. And they just said, we're not locking down. That's insane. More people will die if you lock them down, which is true.
So what
It's
is it? I think you've talked about it before. Is it a comorbidity type of situation though? Like if you're dying of a heart attack but you have COVID, they'll say it's COVID.
absolutely. Listen, okay. Why does America, by the way, America has only 4% of the world population and 28% of the COVID deaths. Now, just one of those numbers. That's 7 times the world average. Now, either the U.S. Medical system is the worst in the world, worse than Nigeria,
Hmm.
worse than the Congo, or we have more poor people than anybody, or doctors are diagnosing COVID because for every diagnosis of COVID, how much do they get? $39,000 from the U.S. government, part of this $2 trillion bailout. Whoa, you got, someone's designed this, we need to save that life. If they're diagnosed with COVID, they don't even have to die. They just have to be diagnosed. Now, if I'm a doctor, I have a house payment, and I'm in a situation where I've got 100 or 50 people a day coming through, and I go, you know what? If I diagnose all 50 with COVID, I made $1.5 million in one day. Now, you might say, well, no one does that shit. Human beings are much more honest, compassionate, and truthful. No one's going to do that. Oh, maybe. But I think even you, my friend, or some of you people listening, if you knew you could make $1.5 million a day by only doing one thing. I've seen this patient. I've diagnosed COVID-19. I get
So you're
30
saying, in other words, it's a Cobra effect.
Oh, what now?
You're saying, in essence, it's the Cobra effect. In
I
the
have no idea. Answer. I don't get out much. What does Cobra affect?
Okay, in the 1800s, India had a problem with cobras, and England, when they were in there, they were saying, "Hey, we're going to give you a bounty for every cobra you kill. Just
Yes.
bring him in, and we'll pay you the money."
But
So
here's
the
the problem.
Indians got smart and they started to breed cobras.
They were real cobras, probably.
No, they weren't.
However,
They were breeding them in order to get more money.
yes, it's the Cobra effect. Thank you for enlightening me on Indian history. I was not aware of that.
Yeah.
Yes, of course. Unless you actually believe that doctors and hospitals are above things like greed.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe no doctor is greedy. But I want to tell you now, if you have a patient sitting in front of you and they have a LRTI, a lower respiratory tract infection,
Mm-hmm.
and the options are pneumonia, common cold, the flu, and 200 other options, or COVID 19, and you go, well, I'm really not sure. I'm just going to put down COVID 19. That simple stroke of a pen made you $39,000 fucking dollars from Medicare, which is what the majority of people who check into hospitals have. Please, people, maybe I'm cynical. Maybe a doctor that's faced with the opportunity to make $1 million a day goes, no, I'm just going to make my normal $2,000.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I am so cynical that people don't do that.
Could it also
However,
be that China lied? I mean, in fairness, is it possible that China has a lot more deaths than they're recording?
who cares? Who cares? All we have to do is look at the deaths in America, especially New York. Do you realize New York, with their 14,000 deaths,
Mm-hmm.
250 times the death rate of the top 10 largest cities on the planet, half of which never locked down. Tokyo, the largest city in the world, never locked down. Twice the population of New York, 4 times. New York is 8 million, Japan is 27.47, 4 times the population of New York.
Mm-hmm.
New York had 14,000 deaths. How much do you think that Tokyo had? 93. And I promise you, if you think the Japanese are fudging numbers, you need to look at Japanese history. If anybody ever telling the truth about anything, it's Japan. Now, the truth may be very unpleasant. I'm sorry if Japan tells it. Nevertheless,
Germans, same thing. Yeah, Germans love to document too.
The Germans are going to lie. The Japanese, no, it's like they don't have time. Why? They've been, like Japan's been around for 3,000 years. They have learned if you lie, it comes back and it costs money. So fuck it, just tell the truth up front. No, the most densely packed city in the world, where they jam the people on the trains. 93 deaths, 93 in 5.5 months. And New York, 14,000, 250 times the death rate. Why? In New York, you get $39,000 if you diagnose COVID. In Japan, you get jack shit. So doctors go, let's test it for pneumonia. Okay, pneumonia C1. It's probably that. They test them. Yeah, I thought so. And then they do what they do.
So, okay, other than the doctors getting rich off of this, what is the point? I mean, who is really behind it or benefiting from it? Is it that there are governors who are getting more control that they never had before?
No. It's the mainstream media. Let's think about it. Who has benefited from this? The mainstream.
I've heard you say that, and I want to push back if I can.
You may, please, but let me first explain something.
Go for it. Yeah.
It's the mainstream media who uses words like the horror, or staggering numbers. Staggering numbers: 250,000 people out of 7.8 billion. The flu kills 3 times as many. Mm-hmm. Give me another lie. Okay, so they're using all this. What is the value? No, don't listen to the mainstream and go, oh my God, our advertising resumes are down. Shit. What's the value of a media company? It is the number of eyeballs times the amount of time those eyeballs are glued to that screen. Now, before COVID, we were spending most of our time at work, commuting to work. On weekends, we go to movies, we take our family to the park. No, we're spending a very minority part of our time glued to the television. Now, what is it? 24 hours a day, the entire world glued to the news, to this, to that. They have gained a value increment of a factor of 10. Please, God, you tell me they are not the beneficiaries.
Well, I'm not sure, and this is why I wanted to push back a little. I'm the first one to say the media is in love with breaking news. I mean, the Cryon, they've been doing this even before COVID. Breaking news, breaking news, breaking news. Every 5 minutes is breaking news. Trump sold us out to the Russians. There's always some hyperbolic thing. However, there is a problem in this that I see, that if I can't go to stores because they're locked down, stores are pulling back their advertising dollars without the cash. How is that benefiting? Also, primaries in the presidential election is one of the number one sources for money for the media, and that's not even flowing through. So I'm not completely disputing. I'm just saying that I do see that there may be a problem in that in terms of the cash. Or do you think that later they'll pull it out?
Please, God. Have you ever watched an emerging technology in terms of the corporations and businesses and entrepreneurs who are latching onto it, like Google?
Yeah, or computers in the 80s when you had all the different companies fighting.
Google, 14 years did not make a single dime. Not a dime for 14 years. Yet investors kept throwing money at it. Why? Because we knew they would own all the world's information. And at some point, which has happened a long time ago now, Google would become the world power. And if you do not think, if you do not think this collection of eyeballs for 2 months on I don't care what channel, KBC News in Kansas City, in 2 months they're going to rake in the fucking money because of a thing called habituation. Habituation. You sit a person down for a goddamn month, locked in, watching something. You're locked. It's like heroin. You can't go a day without it anymore.
That actually brings up something interesting that I've thought of too. Is this the end of sports? Because people are habituating to go see baseball.
I hope so. I never watch sports.
But I'm just using the reverse example, that people are developing new habits from things that they were doing in the past. And you're right. A month or 2 months is enough to establish a new habit.
2 months? Jesus God, 2 months of habituation, like the CIA. This has got to be their dream, although I really don't think that they caused all of this, although they could. I just can't believe our government, because I really believe the CIA is probably the most patriotic of all American institutions. They're just misguided. They've forgotten that we have a constitution, and they have taken over.